Mm. Hello, and welcome to day 23 of 99 days of deeper embodiment. My name is Jason King. I'm just going to pause for a moment and wait for people to join. So if you're joining, feel free to wave, say hello, post a comment, let me know that you're here. There's no other way that I know that you're here with me unless you say something. I'm really excited to be here and to be sharing with you on day 23. If you've been following along, this has been quite a journey for me. Um, Holding this space. A lot coming up personally, collectively, throughout this time, the past few weeks. And so, thank you for sharing this with me. Thank you for witnessing it. And so, yesterday, a question came up towards the end that I feel pulled to go back into because I feel that it's a really important question and it dives into the intention of this container, the intention of this 99 days. Even though I've been speaking about it for 23 days embodiment, I feel that it's important to get a real clear sense of what it is. What is it that we're doing? Why deeper embodiment? Why embodiment at all? Mm. And so there's a lot of different ways of speaking about it. There's a lot of different words to use. There's a lot of vocabulary that has been developed around it, and this vocabulary doesn't all jibe. If I look at it from a a Western perspective, we might use words around it that come from psychology, that come from the study of the mind. If I look at it from an Eastern perspective, I might use words that come from Indian traditions. If I look at it from other Eastern perspectives, like Tibetan, I might use words that come from Buddhism. And if I look at it from a a more European perspective, I might use some Christian mystic words, and that could be also considered Western. And yet, all of the words are speaking about the same thing. So, the words that we use to talk about it come from all different ways of having seen it throughout many different lifetimes ancestrally. And so, oftentimes, what happens when we begin to speak about the expansion of consciousness and deeper embodiment, it can be helpful to establish vocabulary so that we're all speaking about the same thing. Which is why, in the beginning of the 23 days, I was clarifying that embodiment, in the context that I'm speaking about it, is the embodiment of self. Now, there's ways of seeing in that within a New Age construct, we can say higher self. Sorry about that. Um, and higher self indicates that there's some sort of higher intelligence at work. There's some sort of intelligence that is there. But this gets taken by the mind and turned into something that it really isn't. It gets turned into something that is another imagination. And so that can be not useful. You see, the whole idea of embodiment of the self is more here-ness, more presence, more being with what is in every single moment, because that's what gives me all of my power to meet what is here now. So, in its simplicity, it is the understanding that there is no past. The past is just an imagination. It is a construct within mind that we call memory. And so this construct within mind gives me a sensation of time. It gives me a sensation of a timeline. However, in reality, it is not. It is only something that is within my mind. So, deeper embodiment is developing the ability to move fully into the moment without any ideas of the past at all. And so, the less embodied a being is, the more ideas of the past there are showing up. The more timeline there is to integrate and dissolve from a past, from memory. And so when a being is very disembodied, when there is very little embodiment at all of their essence, of their purity, of their spirit, these are all words indicating consciousness. These are all words indicating what is. These are all words indicating the self, which is all. The less embodied a being is, the less ability they have to meet the moment fully, the more trapped in ideas of a past they are, the more stuck in imaginations of a past they are. So when there's deep embodiment, then there is a natural ability to meet whatever is here in this moment without moving into ideas of the past. And so the way this is felt in the body is as if there is spirit or presence or awareness moving throughout the entire body all the time. So anyone who is involved in yogic sciences has an understanding of the mind body link in that it is the body itself that is the structure of the mind. And so memory is stored in the body. And so the less embodiment there is, the less presence, the less awareness there is in the body. And the more embodiment there is, the more consciousness, the more presence is in the body itself. The more feeling capability there is in the body. This is awareness. So when sensations show up in the body, there's awareness around the sensations, and those sensations are easily dissolved into the awareness that is. Someone asked me, what is a good practice for beginning to embody for someone who's a Western mind where there's very little embodiment, where almost all of their daily life is within the mind and not in the body at all. This is disembodied. Disembodied is when everything that you're experiencing is within thought. There's very little or no awareness of what is actually moving through the body. And so, speaking from my experience, I let him know that the best practice for me initially was vipassana or insight meditation, because with vipassana, I developed the ability to move my consciousness within my body. And so this practice can become very advanced. And in its advanced stages, it's no longer looks like vipassana. Vipassana is a vehicle. It's a beginner's vehicle. However, we all have to start at a beginning. The recognition needs to be there that, oh my goodness, I'm living all of my life in mind, all of my life in thought, and there's no awareness or little to no awareness and little to no embodiment. And with little to no awareness and little to no embodiment, then the body is feeling all of these ideas all the time that are showing up, and there's no ability to meet them, no ability to feel them, no ability to dissolve them. And so my body fills up with ideas of the past, fills up with memory, then gets very, very heavy and eventually dies. It's like your hard drive on your computer getting filled up with all of the junk with no ability to erase it. And so then what happens when your hard drive is full? Your computer no longer works. It's no longer useful. And this is what's been happening on this planet with every single body for millennia. And so now, in introducing deeper embodiment or embodiment at all, what we are bringing into awareness, what we are bringing into consciousness by speaking about it, is very clear direction on how to not only erase but organize your hard drive. Organize your memory so that it serves you, so that the dream that you are playing out, the reality that you're living in, is a reflection of clarity rather than a reflection of a very jumbled mind. And so Vipassana as a vehicle starts with something very simple. It starts with focusing the attention. And you focus the attention here, just feeling the sensations that are here and focusing on that and only on that. And so the first thing that is noticed when the focus is brought to one particular point is how undisciplined the focus has been. It's like, oh my God, wow. I'm trying to focus specifically only on one point, but my focus is moving all over the place. Every single sensation that arises, every single thought that arises is pulling my attention. It is pulling my focus. And so just with this simple practice alone, with bringing the focus to one point, one begins to notice, one begins to become aware of how little power is actually in the present moment, because all of the energy is being brought into ideas all the time without any awareness around it, with no consciousness around it. So try this right now. Just bring the focus to one particular point. If you want to bring the focus here, try this, if that feels fun for you. If that doesn't feel fun for you, bring the focus to a point on the wall and just stare at that. Or bring it to your third eye and just hold it there. The beauty of bringing it here is that you can feel. So this is awakening the felt sense. And part of awakening is bringing awareness to the emotional body, because it's in the emotional body that we evolve. All evolution is in the emotional body. And so if I just bring the attention to a point on the wall, then I'm not actually bringing it to sensations and feeling. So I really want to wake up initially the felt sense. I want to start feeling again. Our bodies in the West, because we took a trip into mind so deep, are really frozen in the sense that it's very difficult to feel anything at all. Our emotional bodies have become very rigid. They become very rigid through a lot of things, but primarily the use of substances, alcohol, marijuana, drugs, and not just the use of substances, but individually, but collectively. So if you're living in a city and you're not using substances, but everyone else is, that still is affecting your emotional body. Your emotional body is still processing those energies. And so this has made our emotional bodies very rigid, brittle, where emotions hit the body and they don't dissolve fluidly, where we're not receiving that information fluidly, where it's difficult to actually dissolve and integrate that information when it shows up. And this is what creates addiction. Because when there is emotional information that shows up, and it is very difficult to meet and dissolve in the moment, then we end up looping around it. Because it is literally a an idea that is stuck in our body with a charge, and every single time our consciousness hits it, we loop around it. And so this is like a ridge on a record. And so the record just starts to, like the old albums, it starts to go back and forth, and the song cannot play. And this is what creates addiction. And so this is a way of seeing what addiction is from a quantum perspective, from an understanding of what the body is within a quantum field. And so the way to resolve addiction is to be able to meet those emotions fully. However, when the emotional body is very rigid, it can be very difficult. It can be very intense to meet those emotions because it actually feels like the body is suffering. It feels like the body is getting ripped apart when those emotions are being felt. So first, in order to meet them, we need to begin to embody so that there's more consciousness in the body. Then naturally, as there's more consciousness in the body, these very rigid emotions that have gotten stuck can be felt because they can be met by more of you, by more resource energy, by more consciousness, by more awareness, which dissolve naturally those very dense emotions. So at this point, for anyone who is on the path of awakening, for anyone who is awakening on this planet, the critical necessity is more consciousness in your body. And this will allow you to meet reality. This will allow you to continue to be functional in the world that we are now in. There is literally nothing special about me as a being. I am you. We are one substance, one consciousness. The only difference between me and you, if you're watching this, is that I've taken some time to embody, to consciously embody. And this has given me the ability to not only see where another being is at in their own embodiment and feel it, which seeing and feeling, when I use the word seeing, um, what I'm referring to is a felt sense, because that is a form of seeing. It also allows me the ability to be more present here now and flow with what is arising. And so anyone has the ability to develop this, and everyone should be focused on this at this point in time. Because if you're not, then it's going to be very tricky to navigate reality moving forward. Because the frequencies that we are receiving on this planet are much higher than they ever were. And so, with higher frequencies, denser bodies no longer operate the way that they used to. This is akin to saying that we've now installed a new operating system for the planet. And now, with this new operating system, we need to free up memory. The old hard drive, the old cluttered hard drive, needs to go through a defragmentation and a cleaning process. And along with that process, your consciousness needs to be equipped with a fundamental understanding of how to maintain it so that you can meet reality as it is now within the new framework, within the new paradigm. And this will allow you to be successful moving forward. And so the key for this and for everyone is deeper embodiment. Not only understanding intuitively what embodiment is, because what embodiment truly is allowing the consciousness that is you to inform you and to fill your body without the clutter of the ideas of the past, without the clutter of the memory. And so when emotions do come up and when memories do come up, that you have the ability to naturally move with them, flow with them, and dissolve them. And so within this new paradigm, there's very basic things that need to be integrated. One of them being that no word, no particular word is ever the truth. Any word that we use needs to be defined in a way that we can come to an understanding around it. No concept is ever the truth either. Any concept needs to be fluid enough that we can drop it and feel into what is actually here. Concepts are just a guide. They're a guide that we put around something so that we can begin to feel into what is actually here. They are useful in guiding us. They're useful in providing us with a construct that allows us to continue to evolve. Other than that, they serve no other purpose. So within the spiritual community, there's a lot of attachment to concepts. There's a lot of attachment to ideas. I remember when I was taking Kundalini level 1, and everyone was studying the ideas of Yogi Bhajan. And these concepts today are actually outdated and they need to be chucked completely. Yogic ideas are outdated. They need to be dissolved as well. They're useful, they're a bridge into what is here now, but they're outdated because consciousness is constantly expanding. It's constantly evolving. And how does consciousness express itself? It expresses itself through now and always through us getting together collectively and feeling into what is here. And so I can feel into it within myself and I get a piece of it. And that piece of it, if I share it with someone else, they may sense into it too and they begin to feel it and they get a piece of it. And then so together we all begin to feel into what is here and then that begins to reveal what the intelligence that is all of us is wanting to manifest. However, it's impossible to be creating at this level, manifesting at this level with ease, fluidly, if everyone is still running ideas of the past and that has not been dredged out and dissolved. Because then what is constantly coming up is egoic ideas that block the ability to move within a collective manifestation. And then everyone that is trying to create at that level, that is trying to manifest collectively, all of their focus goes into having to meet and process what that one individual has not met yet within themselves. And so for organizations, for businesses, for anything that has to do with working in groups, which is where all of creation is moving, all of manifestation is moving on this planet at this point, this information is critical to your continued success. If there is not a savvy understanding of how to embody within a group format, within a group setting, within a collective consciousness, of how to continue to evolve within a collective consciousness, then the painful ideas, the limiting beliefs that are in one person will drag the entire collective down. And when we're talking about dragging a collective down at this point, because there is so much more awareness within the collective, we're talking about getting pulled into the undertow. And when you get pulled into the undertow, then it's like getting pulled into a riptide, and the entire collective sinks with it. The entire consciousness of that group sinks with it, which can be very destructive for an organization or for any collective manifestation. And so, what I'm sharing about is incredibly practical and very grounded, albeit there's still a lot of resistance to it because there's a tremendous amount of past ancestral trauma that we as a collective have not met yet. And so the choice is to move with fear and to get sucked into that undertow, or to embody, to begin to consciously embody. And so I will leave you here today with this. It's a lot to take in. So please take your time with it. This is a lot of information that I'm sharing in a very quick format, but it feels really necessary. So take your time with it. And if you have any questions, please reach out. I love you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.